Hi there, beloved, and welcome again to this podcast. We're going to continue our series about love, which is the greatest force in the universe. Let's go to the slides. This was the last one that we went through, and I think you already understand this one. So we're going to the next one, and then from the next one on, I'm going through the very important underlying principles for you to understand better what love really is. And I'm talking about unconditional love, obviously. So let's go. Here they come again. Indeed, the universal loves. I'm going to go through 3 of them. And I think they should be enough, especially the last one. The third one is the very important one, obviously, and you will hear that more often during this series. So the first one is the law of cause and effect. That's the first one. The only correct direction of cause and effect is from the inside to the outside. That's the only correct direction. If you do it in the reverse direction, then it will only be shape. That means it will not be content. The content will not be taken care of. It will not be important, because it will only be about the outer layer, so to speak. How do I look to other in the eyes of other people? So it's counterfeit. It is fake. It is false. That's when you want to go in the reverse direction, outside in. To a certain extent, I'm not going to go too deep in these things, but in an organization, you can use that approach to a certain extent, because you could by putting norms, certain norms. That's an outside thing, a norm, and the norm will automatically, hopefully, lead to values. Those are internal things, of course. So value is internal. The norm is the outside. How does it look? What norm it answers to? You see my point? So that is true. However, in the universe, spiritually speaking, it's the only correct direction from the inside out. From the inside out. Always. God works from the inside out. The second law is the law of attention. Well known. Everything that receives your positive attention will grow. Definitely. So on the other hand, anything that receives your negative attention will wither as well. Yes. So that also is about you. If you receive negative attention from you, you will wither. Yes, you will get old soon. Your body will be sick often. A lot of things will happen. Bad things. Things that will also bother you mentally. So don't do it. And we're going to go through that just later in the series. The last one is in my view, the most important one within this context, and that is the law of the leverage. The law of the leverage. Lasting, long-term positive results only come through short-term investment in suffering in one way or the other. It could be suffering in time spent, in money invested, or effort, your energy. So the recipe for long-term success it goes always together with facing of the short-term pain of discipline. That's the suffering here. That's the suffering of discipline. You have to go through that pain of discipline. You have to, in order to have long-term success. So it's also possible that you avoid it. A lot of people in the world avoid it. They avoid it because they want to make it easy for themselves in the short term. And that is a recipe for long-term failure. You will undergo another kind of pain, and that is the pain of regret, which is 100-fold the pain of discipline. You will miss out on a lot. So please bear that in mind. Let's start with the law of cause and effect. If you have no or little respect for yourself, then you automatically have no or little respect for another as well. That's how it works. Always. So, if it always works like that, if you see someone who shows no or little respect to another or for another, then it is evidence to you that this person has no or little respect for themselves. It is obvious. It's a law. It always works. So it is evidence. So please bear that in mind, and that also goes for you, and we're going to go through that, of course. So understanding this phenomenon will help us to put someone else's behavior into perspective. That is, to be more understanding of someone. And this, of course, also applies to unconditional love. So don't forget, you will see someone else's behavior in a very relative perspective, being aware of the fact that you are the same. You are not one inkling better than the other. So you if you see the other, you will notice that you could be that person, and that's why you will be more understanding toward that person. Okay, well, let's go to a schedule here. This is a very simple schedule of a human being as an example. So the human being is born, and they are still very close to their core love. Very quickly, while we're growing up, there's going to be a small layer of desire because you want food, and you're going to scream because you want food. You desire food, or you desire to go to the toilet, or whatever. So desire will a baby cries because it wants to sleep, as an example, or it doesn't want to sleep also. So this is all desire. So that's the layer that forms when you grow up. Also a layer of regret. Children don't have this a lot yet. Very seldom. But the next one is a very well-known one, fear. It's all things that we experience while growing up, right? So these are all layers that are formed through time because of our experiences in life. So fear is a big one. Fear says something about the future. Right? Fear talks about future. We are going to just think or make things up. What will happen if this happens? And what do I do if that happens? Etc. It's all fear. You're going to put a lot of scenarios just because you want to avoid something, as an example. How about grief? Grief talks about something in the past. And if you do not deal with that grief, it's going to haunt you. It's going to make the wound even bigger. And then it gets infected, etc., etc. So grief is a very important one as well. And anger, that's often the outside layer as well. If someone is angry, then you can almost bet on it that the person is grievous of something, or is fearful of something. Because anger can also come from what? Jealousy. Anger from jealousy is a very dangerous anger. It kills. And you end up in prison. So all these layers are being formed in a human being through time, through experiences. So now the question becomes, what does the psychologist do with this schedule? How do they deal with it? Let me tell you. Let me enlighten you. They will instruct you to peel all these layers off one by one. That's what the human expert will tell you. Is that wrong? No. In itself, it's not wrong to deal with all these layers to get them out of your system, so to speak, and so that you grow back toward your core called love. Of course, it's not wrong in that sense. Theoretically, you can take that approach. Let me put it like that. It's possible. However, is that the best solution? My immediate answer is no way. Hell no. Because there is a much quicker one that also works more in a more lasting way. Because after all, just stay with me here. If you work through layers, peeling off of layers, and you end up here, let's say I would say no one ends up here. It's not possible. Why not? Because while you're doing these things, you're going through this process, you again go through new experiences and through new disappointments or whatever, and you form new layers around your core. So it's in Dutch we call it carrying water to the sea or mopping with an open tap. It's not very wise to do that. Let me put it like that. It's not wrong. Again, theoretically, it's correct, but it's not wise, seeing that the reality is different. And like I said in the law of cause and effect, it's always better and it's more genuine to work from the inside out. To work from the inside out. So how will we approach this issue here from the inside out? How will we approach that? This is a human being, don't forget. How will you do that? We still have some time. Well, let's go through the next slides. But I can tell you already, we are created like this. And the best way to work towards love, in that sense, is to make this bigger. To grow love in such a way that it will burst its way through all these layers and comes to the outside. That's the best way to do it. But how? What does it mean, right? Okay. When can love be truly unconditional? When? So, if you look at this one, how can I truly love someone else unconditionally when it's here and it's covered up by all these layers? How can I truly love another one unconditionally? Let's take a look. That is only possible, cause and effect. That is only possible if I also love myself truly unconditionally. Because if we are there at that point in development, so to speak, in the process, then we have set a very good step already in the right direction. Yes. But someone who is critically thinking about these things, and that is rightly so. That's a sign of being a grown up. That's a sign of what's the word? Maturity. That's the word. That's a sign of maturity. A mature person will be critical and they will say, "How can I truly love myself unconditionally?" Because everyone can say, "Oh, you have to love yourself first before you love another." That's true. That is true. But what is the basis on which I build my self-love? My unconditional self-love, which is not depending on how I think about myself in that sense. It's not depending on that, because sometimes I can loathe myself. Sometimes I can look in the mirror and see a monster or someone who is not likable or whatever. So the way you think about yourself is not the same all days, but there has to be a fundament, a foundation. What is the foundation? Let's take a look. The only rightful, correct foundation is that I truly realize that God loves me unconditionally, because God is my creator. He is my designer and creator. So I can truly love myself unconditionally if I truly realize that is faith. Realize, that's metanoia, the Greek word, and that is like a higher knowledge or a deeper knowledge. If the coin falls, it hits you in the stomach. You know what I mean? Then you really realize. And this is what I mean. If I truly realize that God truly loves me unconditionally, if I realize that, then I can be at ease, because God, my own creator, loves me unconditionally. So who am I to not love myself unconditionally, right? However, someone who is truly critical, a critical thinker, still has one question left. And that's the last one. And I'm sorry about this, but I'm going to keep you hanging a little bit until the next video. So please think about this question and try to answer it for yourself. How can God then love me unconditionally? How does it work with Him? How can He love me unconditionally? Because it's unconditionally means not depending on the receiver, remember? So think about that, and we'll come back to that the next time. Thanks for watching.